Hi, I'm Audrey Chapman. Welcome back to the Sales Strategy series. This time we're going to be looking at the subject of measuring success. So we've already had a look in a previous episode of what good looks like, where we spoke about behaviors and values and how they should and could be balanced with the metrics. Now we're going to dive into the metrics themselves. In any sales function, in fact in any business, obviously the numbers are important. After all, we are in the business of making a profit. I'm sure you'll agree. So how do metrics play their part within a sales function so that they become motivating, useful and helpful and supporting, as opposed to overwhelming, a nightmare and ignored? I wanted to tell you about a company that I worked with. Their sales director was particularly interested in spreadsheets. She used to spend a huge amount of time on a laptop devising endless ways in which to look at the same number. And I'm sure it must have been fascinating for somebody. Regrettably, it wasn't fascinating for her sales force. And as a result, they used to pretty much ignore it. These reams and reams of spreadsheets would come out weekly, monthly, quarterly, always different, always looking at it from a slightly different angle, and it always received pretty much the same reception. It was ignored. It was just overwhelming. So we started to work with a team as to how we could communicate the numbers, how we could communicate the metrics in a fashion that would actually be useful. Because ultimately the metrics are useful. That is the underpinning of the business. It's the only way you would be able to have a hard result as to how you were successful, as to how those numbers are showing up against the targets and what have you that you might have set yourself. For us, there were 2 points that came across loud and clear. Number one is clarity. If we could make sure that the numbers that we wanted to communicate to the various levels of community, so whether it was the sales management or regional management or district management or to the individual salespeople themselves, if it was communicated in a fashion that was relevant to their particular performance, we would have half a chance of them perhaps being interested in engaging with us in that conversation. And the second point was consistency. Randomly spewing out numbers because it suits us does not necessarily suit the reciprocant, and it's a reciprocant that we want to be able to engage with to make sure that we can have a meaningful conversation over these numbers. So those 2 points, clarity and consistency, became the focus for us to realign ourselves with what we actually wanted in the business. The business obviously still had requirements of us, so we put together a clear, concise document that would be easily understood by everyone concerned, would cover what the business required, and would be communicated on a consistent basis, on a regular basis. Once we'd decided and made the commitment that our reporting was going to be absolutely clear, that we would have clarity, and that we were going to be consistent, actually everything started to fall into place. The sales management team and the leadership became far clearer as to what was expected of them and what was likely to be reviewed and reported on each month. As a result of that, they could now lean into those metrics and start to become far more creative in terms of how they were actually going to improve them. So rather than having this deluge of information that is coming at them from various different angles in any particular time of the sales week or sales month or sales quarter, it was very, very clear, very consistent, and guess what? People started to improve their sales performance because they knew where they stood and they knew what was expected of them. So let me recap. In terms of measuring success from the metric point of view, clarity and consistency is absolutely key. Decide what it is that you want, put a document together or put a process together that is easily understood, communicated, and then do that consistently. people will know where they stand as a team, they'll know where they stand as individuals, and it will give them half a chance of being able to think creatively as to how they can improve those metrics rather than how they can understand the metrics in the first place. So I hope that's been of some value to you in your sales function, and I look forward to seeing you next time. This is Audrey Chapman from the Sales Strategy Series.